The story begins with Kimura, who notices something strange on his way to school. He is startled by a loud thud and finds out that a young girl has accidentally bumped into a young boy, knocking him over defensively. He touches her where he strictly shouldn't have, making her super mad at him. Soon, a heated argument commences between them, and Kimura goes past them, thinking that he just witnessed a very cliché situation. However, there is more to come when it is revealed that the same girl shows up as a transfer student, introduced as Ayame Takabe, and is thoroughly shocked to discover that she is in the same class as that sleazy guy and agitated Kimura, cannot believe the development of the second cliché situation, and guesses that the losing heroine will soon arrive. His suspicions come true when he spots the very tragedy queen, ready to burst into tears upon learning that the first two characters have met at home first and now at school. Wackily, to Kimura, it appears that the whole world is a rom-com centered around the guy Aikun. There are several reasons to support Kimura's theory: the conveniently empty seat beside Aikun, the presence of two girls in the scenario, and lastly, the conveniently timed lucky perv moments for him. Even now, he accidentally slips over Ayame and gets thwacked swollen by her Kimura, believes that there is no way to explain this world unless it is a rom-com. He thinks that everything here is old school, including Ayame's fuming reactions. Truly, nothing screams true love like a concussion and public humiliation. Next, the losing heroine, Manaka Kawashima, approaches A and wonders about his well-being. He instantly recognizes her and curses Ayame for her violent behavior. She reasons with him not to think ill of Ayame since she just got transferred. With a dazzling smile, she advises him to support her instead. A bold move. Advocating for your romantic rival. Nobel Peace Prize material. Honestly, Kimura is shocked to see how she put her rival ahead of herself and thinks of her as overly kind. He reprimands her loudly, warning her that he will never notice her if she remains like this. Kawashima is dumbstruck and panic-stricken, turns around. She wildly urges him to give her some pointers about love, since to her, he seems quite well versed in it. Because when your love life is falling apart, ask the background character for help. Always a winning strategy. In this way, it all starts, and a determined Kimura scans all the rom-com material in the library to make Kawashima win. Firstly, he confirms with her that she is Ei's childhood friend, and she readily affirms. She explains that she moved away when she was 6, and they used to be really close. But she sighs gloomily and fears that now he doesn't remember anything at all. Kimura wonders whether they made any promises about marriage in childhood. Giggling nervously, she blurts out that it was a mere child's folly, but it did happen. Kimura emphasizes that she needs to highlight that point in front of him. He bluntly points out her meek character against Ayame and insists that she doesn't have any edge or any sharpness. Personality sharpening, the most underrated weapon in the rom-com arsenal. Poor Kawashima feels insulted, but he candidly describes Ayame as a textbook tsundere, having a contrasting personality of cold aloofness and hidden warmth. He mentions how her impact keeps growing, and to overcome that, Kawashima has to fight with her past memories she had with A. He declares that person to be the winner who puts out their best shot. He compels her to convince A by bearing up her past again. Nothing says healthy competition like emotional manipulation and selective nostalgia. She gulps down nervously but agrees readily. Later, she hesitantly calls out to A and reintroduces herself as the girl belonging to his past. She expectantly queries him whether he remembers her. Ai's eyes widen as the strong gusts of wind swish past him. Shockingly, the intruding winds have made her quite inaudible to him, so he sheepishly asks her to repeat what she was saying earlier. Kawashima appears relieved for some reason and then beamingly shrugs off the matter. It is then that Kimura calls out to her, informing her that their teacher is looking for her. When she approaches him, he lashes out at her for dodging the whole scenario. Truly the supportive coach every heroine dreams of, equal parts yelling and unsolicited advice she frantically denies. But he knows that the thought of him not remembering her is quite intimidating for her. But she abashedly blurts out that seeing him so close blanked her out completely. He firmly compels her to remind Ai of the marriage proposal they made as childhood friends, and then show him the difference between her past self and current personality. He urges her to show her Tsun side by using her twin pigtails, because nothing screams emotional maturity like weaponizing your hairstyle. She sulkily protests that in this way she will appear emotionally unstable. He tries to tickle her memories that she had with A, so after a pause, she mentions a park where they used to play as children. Her revelation brightens him up instantly, and he instructs her to call A to that park by writing him an anonymous note. When she appears totally baffled, he explains that the city has a lot of parks, so if she doesn't clearly mention the name of the park, the person is bound to get crazy trying to figure it out. Perfect. Romance by riddles. Nothing could possibly go wrong. But if A remembers which park she is talking about, he will definitely come and will certainly remember her. From the past, Kimura gently places his hands on his shoulders and emphasizes that at that exact moment, she has to hit the jackpot. Kawashima is struck by lightning, but he insists that she has to make a confession. He becomes quite hysterical while emphasizing his POV about her confessing to Ei. He elaborates that the longer the heroine's race drags on, the tougher the competition gets, as more rivals add up. He prefers that she should finish up the battle in a short and decisive way. She is still uncertain about her ability to do it, but he animatedly bucks her up. After a couple of days, a jittery Kawashima is walking along Kimura, having a panic attack. And thus the rom-com marathon continues, fueled by anxiety, cliches, and questionable logic. She has this bad feeling about Ai not showing up. She has guessed from their first meeting that he doesn't remember her at all, and that everything ended for him in the past. But a stirred-up Kimura refuses to accept her excuse. He shares the greatest possibility of A remembering her, but cannot recognize her from her previous self. He reasons that she has become much more charming than before, and that she shouldn't think lowly of herself. An abashed Kawasaki is overwhelmed by his flattery. He shows her the bright side. She will definitely meet her awaited person in a rom-com. After a while, they reach their destination, Sakura Park. She is still very uncertain about this whole thing when she suddenly spots A in the park. Because in every romance, the park is where destiny and awkward silence go hand in hand. Kimura dramatically thinks that they have finally grabbed the winning flag. He excitedly decides to approach him, when a shocked Kawasaki spots Ayame Kimura's jaw drops on seeing her. But then he quickly guesses that the park might be on her way home, since it is very close to school. Meanwhile, Ayame inquisitively probes him about his presence in the park A, in turn queries her whether she sent him that letter. Kimura anxiously realizes that at this rate, he will think that Ayame is the sender. Ai appears confused about how Ayame knew about this park. She acridly mentions that the park provides a shortcut to her home. A shortcut to her home, and straight into another misunderstanding? How efficient. Kimura hyperactively urges Kawashima to act up. But before that, Ayame suggests they might have been childhood playmates. It appears that somehow A gets into a misunderstanding that Ayame might be her past playmate in the park. On the other hand, Kimura keeps pressing Kawashima, but she doesn't budge and in fact accepts her defeat. Ah yes, romantic surrender, the favorite pastime of every underdog heroine. Even Kimura feels sad, but then brightens up at a thought. He mentions to her that the school is closer to the park, providing them with yet another opportunity. Leaving her stunned, he dashes towards the school on his bicycle. He barges into the broadcast room and takes over the microphone despite being restrained from doing so, because when all else fails, commit a minor felony in the name of love. He is so ardent about helping Kawasaki because he knows how it is to always get stuck on the losing side. Soon, the whole school echoes with a buzzing sound, followed by Kumaru furiously calling out to Ayame. He requests that she reach the faculty office immediately. Ayame freaks out, but he continues to anonymously mention someone who doesn't have the confidence to move forward. Kawashima is deeply perplexed to hear his voice. He urges her to paint her past with her current self. She grips her bag tightly and walks towards the park. On the gates, she finds A and bows to him respectfully. He is surprised to see her, but then she begins to say something. Later, Kimura bumps into her and wonders about her presence because he thought she had headed home with A. She informs him that he went first, and then lauds his effort with a big smile. Kimura recalls how he was lashed out at by the teachers afterwards. Every great hero must pay the price. Detention, embarrassment, and crushed pride. But he is curious to know about A's reaction after she confessed to him. She laughs nervously, claiming that she finally did it. Now her attitude takes him by surprise because she doesn't seem triumphant about that. She sheepishly blurts out that she asked him about homework. Kimura freaks out, screaming at her folly and claiming that there was much more important to hear than discussing homework. She reveals that A's little sister has a fever, so he wanted to make it short. However, just the thought that he remembered her from the past is enough for her. Kimura cannot believe her, as she waited for him this long just to tell her that. At this point, even the background music probably gave up on them. He is worried that what if A and she had just missed each other? But she insists that they wouldn't because just like he had said earlier, that one will definitely meet the person they are waiting for in a rom-com. She turns around to face him with a dazzling smile and proclaims that this is why she chose to believe. At first, Kimura is in a stupor, but then he claims that Ai doesn't know what he is missing out on, and if it were him, he would have chosen her without any second thoughts. Classic. Fall in love while coaching someone else on how to fall in love. Truly meta, a flushed Kawashima probes him further, so he reveals his fondness for her. He reasons that he wouldn't have gone this far otherwise. However, he knows that he cannot intrude on the love triangle as the world has no interest in him. For this reason, he tries to exercise control whenever he is around her. He just wants something good to happen to her, since she is always on the short end of the stick. He considers her an unfortunate soul and wants to help her win. The teacher announces that next week their seats will be changed. The whole class is surprised. However, Kimura finds it a perfect opportunity to make A and Kawashima sit together. Even a beaming Kawashima believes that she will become a winning heroine naturally. Since this is decided by lottery, Kimura knows that he has to devise some kind of strategy. But the teacher makes an explosion that this time the seats will be rearranged based on the next midterm results. To solve this issue is like climbing Mount Everest, since Ai is the class topper at the time of enrollment, while Kawashima is safely the last of all. Kimura has observed the recent trend in rom-coms, that the hero is unusually smart. So the two heroines, along with their perfect grades, have convinced Kimura more that the whole world is a rom-com, centered around A. Meanwhile, the coldness between A and Ayame remains, even though both are sitting side by side. Kimura is curious about the unusual ruckus behind him, but he ignores that and focuses on the main issue of seat arrangement. He is certain that the romance between A and Kawashima will progress if they sit beside each other. He ponders deeply about an instant way to improve her grades. On the other hand, the jittery Kawashima tumbles over and falls with notebooks strewn everywhere. He rushes forward to help her, guessing that, as usual, she is aiding the teacher. He considers a real softie and cannot bring himself to describe her. Out of the blue, he blaringly declares her an intangible cultural heritage heroine. Finally, someone preserving the ancient art of clumsy romantic archetypes. When she appears baffled, he calmly instructs her to put the books in the reference room. His previous words, "I like you, Kawashima," ring in her ears, and she nervously blurts out a thank you. After a short pause, she decisively queries him about his context for liking her. Kimura glances around, searching for the right words. Without meeting her eyes, he admits he likes her genuine emotions, the way her eyes light up at the sight of A, and how she bursts with love. He repeats firmly that he wants to see a losing heroine like her to win. To rephrase his previous "I like you," he claims to be her #1 fan. Now that comes as a blow to Kawashima, and her flabbergasted expressions puzzle him. It appears that she has misunderstood him. He shrugs off the matter and comes to his point that her first step towards winning is to befriend Aishe freaks out and wonders whether she appears more than just friends right now. He praises her immense positive thinking and elaborates that, in a classic rom-com, the heroine doesn't suddenly become a girlfriend. He hysterically emphasizes that a girl who isn't even a friend is similar to a background character. Kawashima believes that his words are just absurd. He reasons that in reality she is too nervous to even talk to him. So for this reason, the seat change is a perfect opportunity. He is certain that she will naturally grow closer to him in this way, and A teaches her that she will get along better. But she fears that she will cause disappointment to Ai for not even knowing simpler things. He impulsively calls her pathetic, but then quickly bites his tongue, hoping that things are not that bad. She dejectedly asks him to analyze her himself. He sighs and then agrees. However, after scrutinizing her a bit, even he shrieks in disbelief about how she can be such a dunce. Kawashima bursts into tears, so he yells at her to concentrate on the formula, wondering how she ever managed to pass the entrance exam. She makes an absurd revelation that during the exam prep, her younger brother tutored her for 15 hours a day the entire year. He is stunned to know that she went so far. Somewhere out there, her brother deserves a medal and probably therapy. She mentions with a smile that Ai has always been a good student, so she guessed that he would definitely get into a top school. Her explanation nearly brought him to tears. She wishes to be someone who can proudly walk beside A, and Kimura cannot help but wonder whether Ai is some god to worship. Next, she asks him how to solve a question, but he is unable to explain. Out of the blue, Ayame pops up from nowhere and shows her how to apply the formula. Both are startled at her unexpected entry. She wonders whether the duo is having a study session, so Kawashima invites her to join in, as according to her, 3 breads are better than 1. Ayame jeeringly corrects her that it is heads instead of breads, while an agitated Kimura cannot believe how hopelessly stupid she is. Frowning hard, Ayame blurts out about how she hates studying. Kawashima's eyes sparkle in joy as she exclaims that even she hates it too. But Ayame's next revelations hit her hard when she claims to be able to grasp everything from the class, and that she does not see the point of extra studies when everything is written in the textbooks. A beaten Kawashima realizes that this is what it means to be a winning heroine. Apparently, intelligence is the ultimate plot armor. A dismayed Kimura silently hopes that she doesn't lose heart, but a debilitated Kawashima is nearly cracked and broken into pieces. Kimura panics for a moment, imagining Ayame standing right next to Ei, holding second place in the class rankings. Out of the Ei appears in the library to Kawashima's immense joy. However, Ei glares at Ayame. Ayame screams at him in sheer fury for daring to show his face and talk to him. The sweet symphony of love and mutual loathing. In the same tone, he retorts to her that he wasn't talking to her. The intense bombing goes on from both sides when a hesitant Kawashima tries to intervene and make peace between them. But it is revealed that Ei had accidentally barged into the bathroom when Ayame was taking a bath at home yesterday. The inevitable accidental bath encounter, humanity's proudest storytelling tradition. The revelation shocks Kawashima to the extent that she loses her senses for the time being. Kimura anxiously analyzes that possibly half of her HP might have disappeared on hearing that he silently urges her to snap out of it and to regain her emotions. But at the same time, he is equally disgusted by the two, as they seem to belong to some cheesy 80s rom-com, because nothing screams romance like emotional breakdowns and lost hit points. Ayame grittily complains that he even broke her headband. Ai blames her for putting that in the wrong place. A frustrated Kimura orders them to stop bickering and reminds them that they are in a library. But Ayame completely ignores him and wails that her headband was very important. Furiously, she storms out and slams the door shut, unable to take it anymore. Kimura now realizes the reason for their rotten moods in the morning. Quite meekly, Kawashima wonders about the headband, so Ei pulls out a broken headband from his pocket to show her. She notices that it has been neatly snipped in half. Ai then addresses her and states that he doesn't know much about girly stuff, so he hesitantly invites her to go shopping with him. Kawashima is left in a stupor with a gaping mouth, and Kimura rolls up his eyes. He imagines Ei and Kawashima shopping for a headband, and then Ayame accidentally spotting them. He can picture her yelling at them, just when he thought their misunderstandings wouldn't escalate further. Clearly, this group's idea of drama comes free with every accessory purchase. Kimura further imagines Ei explaining to her that they are here to buy her a headband, and so the argument ends, and the point emerges as their relationship deepens. Panicking, Kimura rushes to stop them. He won't let that happen to Kawashima, even if she sees it as a good opportunity. However, Kawashima tells him that the headband seems irreplaceable for Ayame, so even if he buys a new one, it will never fill that void. Because nothing says emotional depth like a symbolic hair accessory. She advises him to sincerely apologize to her instead. Ei pauses for a moment and then agrees with her. Kimura becomes emotional on seeing her act sensibly, as she wasn't swept away by the opportunity but backed off gracefully. Ei promises that he will apologize to her once he gets home. As he is about to leave, Kimura suddenly stops him and whispers something in his ear. The next day, Kawashima approaches a sulking Ayame and thanks her for helping her study yesterday. Next, she pulls out the same headband and presents it to her. Ayame's eyes widen in a stupor because it is as good as new. Plot twist. Glue saves friendships better than therapy ever could. The previous day after school, Kimura had suggested fixing it. Kawashima is uncertain whether that can be done, but Kimura is adamant about doing so. He instantly finds out how to fix headbands on the internet. Then he buys the desired glue from the store and sticks the two pieces together. Google and glue, the true heroes of modern problem solving. Ayame becomes emotional while holding the headband and reveals that she received it from her mom. Ei overhears her and apologizes. Ayame yells at him for not doing that sincerely before. When Ei becomes miserable, Kawashima tries to cheerfully make peace between the two. and Kimura is glad to see that otherwise, A would have gone home carrying guilt, and then he would have tried to fix the headband all by himself. This would have only deepened the bond between A and Ayame. Kimura is triumphant because not only did he manage to prevent that, but fixing it together with everyone is more efficient than doing it alone. To his surprise, he hears Kawashima mentioning his name to Ayame to express her gratitude, because he was the one who actually took the initiative to fix it: efficiency, friendship, and mild manipulation. The holy trinity of character development. Ayame tries to confirm a baffled Kimura and then adorns the headband with a flush smile. Kimura groans in frustration and proclaims that Kawashima would be better off with Ayame than with her. Ayame is perfectly okay with that, and tries to remember correctly that the seating arrangement will be made according to the class rankings. She freaks out when she learns that Kawashima came last, but then assures her that she will drill her for the whole week. Academic torture, the sincerest form of friendship Kawashima shiriks, while a smirk plays on Kimura's face. Soon the midterm results are out, and as usual, Ayaguchi has topped, while a duffer Manaka Kawashima hangs out miserably in the last position. Ayame shakes her violently, claiming to have taught her vigorously, and still her rank hasn't been changed. A wailing Kawashima apologizes to her repeatedly, reasoning that she got so overwhelmed that she didn't understand anything, because clearly if you yell loud enough, the grades will fix themselves. Meanwhile, Kimura is perplexed as he thought that if Ayame is teaching Kawashima, then a higher rank is completely achievable. Then he analyzes Ayame's seating arrangement, and he is shocked to learn that she will be sitting just beside him, since she is in the 18th position while he is in the 19th. Now he was expecting Ayame to be in a higher position than that, but she explains that she would rather be in the same group as her friends if she got the chance. Quite disappointed, she was expecting Kawashima to be around somewhere, at least in the rankings. A stunned Kimura cannot believe that she aimed for the middle rankings on purpose, and considers this act much harder than taking the first position. The teacher announces the seating arrangement, and everyone is taken aback when he mentions that the 1st and 36th will occupy the front row. He clarifies that the arrangement is according to a certain ranking order. He emphasizes the school's policy of mutual improvement, and that being with someone more capable than oneself leads to growth, because forced seating plans have always been the key to enlightenment. He believes that if the students were seated in an ascending ranking order, the whole balance would be screwed. Kimura glances at Ayame, gritting her teeth. Next, the teacher announces all the seating positions and instructs them to place their desks accordingly. AI mentions to Kawashima that they are neighbors, and she acknowledges. Academic destiny strikes again. Assigned seats and accidental love triangles. Meanwhile, the most joyous one is Kimura, whose goal to make Kawashima the winning heroine is just a step ahead. Meanwhile, a sulking Ayame declares it to be a pain around A, but she is glad that she doesn't have to see his face anymore. In fact, she is happy that Kawashima is near her, as she is seated in the second row behind A. Kawashima is surprised, while A is not pleased at all. But the most distressed is Kimura, who is compelled to realize that it is not easy to beat the winning heroine, as she always ends up being around the main character. Shockingly, he has been assigned the seat next to Ayame and behind Kawashima. Ayame reminds him that she hasn't paid him the debt yet for fixing her headband. He mentions how she helped Kawashima study, so she cries back that it doesn't count since Kawashima ended up proving to be a dunce anyway. Debt, drama, and academic despair, just another school day. But her eyes pop out in alarm when Kimura hysterically grabs her hand and expresses his gratitude. He is pleasantly surprised to find Ayame a nice person, and he is adamant in showing his gratitude to her properly. It is then that Kawashima calls out to him and mentions that if he hadn't given her a chance, her seat wouldn't have ended up being that enjoyable, so she heartily expresses her gratitude to him. A stunned Kimura admits that he wasn't thinking that far ahead, and Ayame is curious about their earlier interaction. According to Kimura, the seat beside the main character is undoubtedly an ideal position for the winning heroine. Firstly, she can always stay after the class to write the journal together with the MC. However, an over-efficient Kawashima claims to have finished it already in her free time. Secondly, she can always brush her hand against his while changing the vase water, but she has already done that in the morning and during lunch. Efficiency truly kills romance faster than spoilers kill a suspense. The third opportunity is when she gets locked inside the reference room with A, but the very gullible Kawashima posts on the group chat about getting locked and requesting someone to get the teacher. Inside the reference room, an abashed A points out the low-quality school fittings. Even though her heart is pounding heavily, she assures him that she has already called for help. Like a bolt from the blue, a thundering Kimura barges in, reprimanding her for daring to use the conveniences of civilization modern communication, ruining romantic tropes since the invention of Wi-Fi. He gets closer to a panic-stricken Kawashima and yells at her for wasting a perfect opportunity. After regaining some composure, she frowns at him, whispering that the two of them got nervous in such a stuffy place. He urges her to make use of her heart-pounding situation. A stares at the duo curiously as they both engage in heated bickering. Nothing says helpful friend like screaming about missed love opportunities in front of witnesses. Later, after school, Kimura is all set to go home on his bicycle when it begins to rain. He predicts a sudden trigger of a rom-com event because of it. But for an ordinary guy like him, there is nothing in it. He is about to grab his raincoat when he hears a groaning sound. So, he turns around and finds a drenched Ai in a complete cliché situation, as he claims to have forgotten his umbrella. On spotting Kimura, he wonders whether he is seeking shelter from the rain as well. Kimura mentions that he was just about to don his raincoat. It clicks to Kimura that what if Kawashima appears at this perfect moment? He believes that there is a $1 million chance for her to share an umbrella with A, because true love apparently depends on poor weather forecasting. He analyzes that if he wants her to win, then in this rom-com world he would have to create coincidental encounters. He quickly slides his mobile at the back of the bench to hide it from Ai's gaze, and then messages Kawashima about the perfect opportunity. Now all he has to do is keep A busy till her arrival. He really hopes that no one comes to pick him up, so to confirm that possibility, he queries him about having a smartphone. A shows him his old model of smartphone, explaining that this is all he can afford, but its battery drains rapidly. Kimura is relieved on learning that its battery was long dead by noon. A is anxious to get home early because of Ayame's fiery temper. When Kimura appears inquisitive, he explains that it is his turn that night to make dinner. Kimura guesses that the hapless guy is poor and domestic, and declares him the undeniable leading man of the rom-com world. However, the situation is not so promising because he might rush home due to Ayame's nagging attitude, but he is determined not to give up for Kawashima's sake. Out of the blue, a cat grabs him from behind and doesn't get off, despite his vigorous attempts to get rid of it. When fate sends you a sign and that sign has claws. To his utter disbelief, Ai's face darkens with terror on seeing the cat, and he quickly gets up on his feet to run. He insanely exclaims that the rain is getting intense and it is already pouring cats and dogs. A flustered Kimura warns him about catching a cold, and he is concerned that the situation will mess up if he actually catches a cold. He can picture Ayame tending to him, resulting in their proximity. Rom-com rule number 27, even illness must serve the plot. Kimura freaks out as he is aware that Kawashima will be out soon, and he cannot let him escape. He hysterically grabs him close and urges him to protect himself from the rain. Suddenly, the cat appears again, meowing intimidatingly at them. An agitated Kimura picks it up while A nearly goes through severe panic attacks, but Kimura safely places it in the playground. Nothing builds male friendship like shared trauma and a damp cat. A teary-eyed A is touched by his thoughtfulness and wonders how he knows about his lack of affection towards cats. He sobbingly begs him not to tattle to Ayame, and Kimura is surprised, thinking why he would do that. He can imagine a sarcastic Ayame teasing A by pushing over his cat weakness. Kimura notices a shocked look on A's face and wonders about it. A hesitantly points at his peculiar honesty about the whole thing. He admits that cats are adorable, but whenever he reveals his aversion towards them, people always start teasing him. Kimura explains that there is nothing odd about that, since just like people despise dogs, some might hate cats as well. He assures him that no one will pull his leg in this regard. Nothing bonds two men like a heartfelt talk about pet preferences. A watches him in a stupor, while Kimura is relieved that his biggest fear of Ayame getting closer to A has finally passed. A now realizes why Kawashima trusts Kimura so much he is confused, but then Kawashima calls out to A. With a big smile pasted on her face, she dramatically stutters a good evening to A. Kimura is offended by her overacting. She is holding an umbrella and offers A another one. He accepts her offer while Kimura frowns at her. She whispers a thank you to him for informing her. Romance tip: always bring 2 umbrellas to ruin the mood. However, Kimura screams at her like a madman for bringing 2 umbrellas. He points out how she missed an opportunity to share an umbrella with A. On the other hand, Kimura notices some deep slashes on his raincoat, liberally allowing rainwater to splash over him. It is then that he remembers the cat clawing over it. A elaborates that a cat's claws are pretty deadly. As both A and Kawashima step forward to share their umbrellas with Kimura, he refuses them, claiming that he is already drenched. Soon he wheels away towards his home, while A and Kawashima thoughtfully watch him leave. A grins and recalls how the same Kimura was lecturing him about catching a cold earlier. He believes that Kimura is only worried about others, and a beaming Kawashima cannot agree more. In one dreamy moment, their gazes meet, completely unaware that a smirking Kimura is watching them from a distance. Quite hesitantly, A wonders about what Kimura and she are always talking about. Kawashima is taken aback by that unexpected query and mumbles nervously since she always talked about him with Kimura. Oh good, time for another round of Misunderstanding the Series. The winds blow fiercely around her, making her more terror-struck. She apprehensively blurts out that they are always listening and giving advice. A flustered A looks at her skeptically, so her conversations with Kimura echo in her mind. And finally, she is forced to say, "Like you." Her voice echoes around as he stands there in a daze amidst strong gusts of wind. Memories flash before A's stunned eyes, moments when Kimura showed him great care. He imagines Kimura confessing in front of Kawashima. The whole misunderstanding happened because she forgot to add the word "I" before "like you." When the truth hits him that Kimura actually likes him, he trembles like a leaf. Kawashima, horrified by her mistake, tries to explain, but he cuts her off and promises to keep it a secret. Congratulations, Kawashima! You've just created the first accidental love triangle caused by grammar. Nervously, Ai admits to her that he likes someone else. Meanwhile, unaware of the chaos behind him, Kimura keeps riding through the rain, probably catching his first cold. Somewhere out there, Cupid is watching this chaos and requesting a refund. The following day, Kimura notices Kawashima in low spirits, so he suggests going on a date with A. Kawashima begins to stutter out of nervousness and then lowers her head in sheer gloom. Out of the blue, she lifts her flushed face and suggests practicing, to his astonishment. On the day of their meeting, she arrives 15 minutes early. When Kimura points that out, she meekly explains that she was too anxious to sleep. A flabbergasted Kimura reminds her that this is just a rehearsal. He emphasizes that she managed to confess to A in the park the other day. However, his probe further drags her down to his curiosity. It's always uplifting when encouragement accidentally triggers an existential crisis. He mentions that all her preparation will go to waste if she remains gloomy like that, including her cute outfit. She is shocked to hear the word cute coming from his mouth, so he assumes that even I will find it cute. She hopes so with a shy smile, but she is completely clueless about how to behave on a date. Nothing like romantic coaching from someone who clearly skipped that class himself. Kimura recommends she go to the movies on her first date, as, according to him, places like amusement parks are too heavy for the first outing. This is because during long waits, conversation becomes difficult and the options are unlimited, making people exhausted from deciding. He believes that watching a movie followed by eating out is a safe way out. When the receptionist asks them all of a sudden whether the duo is a couple, a shocked Kawashima begins to stammer. Plot twist. Their first date practice comes with free public humiliation. The woman explains that a couple's discount is being offered at the moment. She shows them the list of absurd choices like the movie is free if they kiss and so on. Both Kimura and Kawashima are struck by lightning as they seem to be caught in a rom-com storm. She gets panic attacks and Kimura tries to calm her down. He gently asks for regular tickets, mentioning that they are in high school. Suddenly, Kawashima nervously reminds him that this is just a practice date, and then she firmly declares that if she doesn't get it right now, then she would not be able to perform on a real date. A dumbstruck Kimura tells her to hold her horses, but an adamant Kawashima has already raised herself to pucker him up. A bewildered, he holds back and blocks her with his arm. Every fake date reaches that point where you start wondering if you need adult supervision. He warns her that although kissing would definitely make for some solid footage, the excitement drops off rapidly once it is done. He elaborates that a kiss before dating is a straight path to defeat. Kawashima appears thoroughly disappointed. He points out that she has been acting weirdly since yesterday. She stares at him in sheer disbelief when he guesses that something substantial might have happened yesterday. She sadly sighs and then reveals that I like someone else. Kimura is struck by lightning upon the revelation of her confession. He decides to talk about it while sitting in a street cafe because nothing cushions heartbreak like caffeine and outdoor seating. She narrates how she confessed to him, but he misunderstood her and then emphasized how he liked someone else. She reveals that once she had confessed, she was afraid of his revelation about his crush, and at that time, she was in dire need of confidence. Kimura reaches out to her anxiously, but she continues that she desperately needs to move forward. She bursts into tears as she wasn't expecting things to get so scary. Silence prevails miserably between the two for some time, but then Kimura abruptly cheers for her for boldly paving her way to confess. He praises her courage and calls her amazing. He animatedly considers that a big step forward from her side. With tears flowing down her cheek, she gazes at him in a stupor. Nothing like a pep talk from someone barely holding his own plot together. He states a possibility that the person A likes can be her, and at that time, out of embarrassment, he couldn't admit it to her. But he warns her that being scared of taking a step forward is going towards the losing side. He requests that she not miss that opportunity. She furiously blurts out that she hasn't accepted her defeat yet. A smile appears on his face as he declares her right and that she hasn't lost yet. He urges her to move forward and mocks her by mentioning that this is a lot better than going for some measly kiss. A cringed Kawashima groans in embarrassment and claims that she just panicked at that time. Understandingly, he tells her not to worry but restrains her from making such a bold move at A as well. Finally, the voice of reason, right after everything that required it. Next, he deeply ponders about the person A likes and wonders whether he should ask him directly. She casually slurps down her drink and declares that she cannot stop here now, just like he mentioned. With a big smile, she expresses her gratitude to him. Kimura is relieved to know that she has had a change of heart. Emotional recovery speed. Faster than your phone charging at 1%. She plans to buy a ticket in advance and to try inviting Ai to a movie after the break. She flutters in her imagination about sharing popcorn with him, and probably in that way their hands will brush. He points out that this will happen if she goes all in on hand-holding. She is hopeful to find out who A likes if she gets a chance, because nothing fuels curiosity like a crush who's definitely not into you. Like a bolt from the blue, A pops up from nowhere, calling out to her, and Kimura guesses that the chance has just arrived. Kawashima is surprised by the coincidence, so Ai explains that Ayame sent him out on an errand. Meanwhile, Kimura notices how many coincidences keep happening around the hero, and starts to wonder if he's some heroine magnet. Still, he is worried about her, as he is aware she is not prepared for this upheaval. But, to his immense shock, she confidently invited him for tea after he was done like some pickup artist. Character development really hits hard when the shy one turns into a social sniper. A readily agrees, and a bewildered Kimura cannot believe that Kawashima is actually locking the deal. She dramatically turns towards Kimura and invites him as well, leaving him completely in a stupor. Quite flustered, he whispers into her ear that his presence is not required here, but then he begins to see her logic that the concept of just the two of them hanging out might be quite intimidating for Kawashima. So if he joins them, she will remain calm, and before one knows it, the whole thing will turn into a date. Because nothing says romance like bringing a third wheel for emotional support. He lauds her far-sightedness and finally sees that she has considerably grown. Ai brightens up and exclaims that he was just getting hungry. Kimura cannot believe that Kawashima's move left such a good impression on Ae-soon. They spot a conveniently located donut shop, offering a perfectly suitable couple's discount. Romantic Destiny clearly has a side gig in marketing. The cart offers a couple of free donuts to a couple who hold hands. He hysterically recalls Kawashima hoping for that perfect chance, and wonders whether she can actually manage holding hands. He remembers her strong determination, but is still uncertain about her guts. She firmly steps forward and spots the couple's discount promo. Next, she boldly reaches out her hand towards Ai, whose heart skips a beat. Even Kimura is shocked, wondering whether she is putting his rom-com theory into practice. That is, flaunting her soon side. She stands like a diva between the two gaping fools, and Kimura realizes that she is on a whole different level that day. It appears to him that the girl who is always being teased is now herself in a teasing mode. Behold, the long-awaited glow-up arc, sponsored by Awkward Confidence. A nervously nods and then solidly holds Kimura's hand. He is struck by a 10,000-volt shock. Ai guesses that this is because of his sweaty palm. Kimura cannot believe that he wasted such a classic line on him. Somewhere, romance died a little watching that handshake. He freaks out silently, trying to stop his sloppiness because he thinks A is behaving like that to save himself from embarrassment. He seriously feels that A should be holding Kawashima's hand. With such vigor, he anxiously fears what if A hasn't noticed anything after all those attempts made by Kawashima. And if that is the case, then the main character is way too difficult to conquer rom-com logic. The denser the protagonist, the stronger the plot armor. Suddenly, Kawashima steps forward and holds A's other hand, reasoning that they might get 3 free donuts with try hand linking. An awestruck A stares at her, while Kimura's heart thumps furiously, thinking whether she did that just to cover him. All of a sudden, he has this sudden urge to give her an emotional and tearful applause, with the title, Kawashima-san. Later, they are munching on the donuts, and A exclaims that they are quite delicious. Kawashima is curious about the flavor he is trying, yes, so abashedly he offers her to try. She is dumbstruck, and a startled Kimura cannot help but notice the unconscious counterattack. He wonders whether A is naturally difficult or pretending to be, but either way he feels that he is being unfair. Meanwhile, Kawashima fidgets nervously, pointing out that by sharing a donut, they will kiss indirect kisses, because real ones require way too much courage. AI is taken aback, thoroughly embarrassed, and explains that this is something that he usually does with his little sister. He covers his mouth apologetically and clarifies that he didn't mean it that way. A shocked Kimura cannot believe that she actually turned the tables on him and used her own shyness as part of her approach as well. A next-level heroine move. He seems so impressed that he thinks that her classic move can get her on the rom-com cover page immediately. Ai shakes nervously. Claiming that he is feeling sick, Kimura can see that her move is super effective. She rises from her seat to make a second attack and places her palm on A's forehead to check. But he escapes from her clutches, reasoning that he doesn't want her to catch his fever. She watches him anxiously, wobbling and bumping into tables. An awestruck Kimura realizes that A's stamina hit the button, and that's overkill. He finally reckons her as not a losing heroine anymore, but a reborn winning diva. He gives her a tearful applause and even adds an honorific after her name. She watches him intensely and then uncovers that, since he is the one who gave her a push forward, she has decided that no matter who Ai likes, she will do everything in her power to divert him towards herself. He smiles proudly at her and emphasizes that she should say those things to Ai and not him. Later, when Kawashima is taking a bath, she realizes that she had a lot of fun that day, but ended up bothering Kimura a lot. She had noticed his twisted expression when she leaned forward to kiss him. She even recalls his funny expressions when she held hands with A. She pauses for a moment as a thought strikes her. She begins to blush furiously while her heart pounds heavily. And thus begins the classic romantic confusion, the true endgame boss of every rom-com. She is in a complete dilemma about what to do next, when images of a concerned Kimura flash on her mind. She is confused that she had always longed to hang out with A, but now she is strongly thinking about Kimura. Congratulations, love triangle achieved. Please collect your emotional damage reward at the counter. Even at school the following morning, a perplexed Kawashima keeps on thinking about Kimura, despite trying hard to please A earlier. She is still lost in her thoughts when Kimura's sudden arrival startles her. With a flushed smile, she greets him back. Secretly, she tries to get a grip of herself and reminds herself that he is just trying to cheer her up. Sincerely. She shivers, feeling slightly feverish when Ayame notices her and then approaches her. She asks her whether she knows how to bring down a fever. An alarmed Kawashima denies having any fever. Completely baffled, Ayame clarifies that she wasn't referring to her. Classic case of guilty conscience. Diagnosing yourself before the doctor even shows up. She informs her that Iguchi caught a cold and is staying at home that day. A sense of relief flows within Kawashima because she thought Ayame had caught her. Flushed Ayame is concerned because she doesn't know how to take care of a sick person. That's why she consulted Kawashima. A worried Kawashima realizes that A was actually sick and wasn't pretending to be feverish. Aha! The eternal rom-com disease. Plot-induced colds with 100% dramatic efficiency. A tinge of regret strikes her, as she suspects that she was probably the reason he got sick. She readily decides to help her, and a relieved Ayame calls her a lifesaver. Kawashima tells her that the first thing she has to do is to wipe off the sweat from the sick person. Next, she has to change his clothes and then she has to check their temperature. Step 1. Wipe sweat. Step 2. Destroy all remaining dignity. She is unaware that with every described step, Kimura's face darkens with agitation. So when she mentions the next step of feeding the sick person with rice porridge, he yells at her in aggravation to hold her tongue, Then he turns towards Ayame and advises her to take A to the hospital instead. Ayame mentions how A refuses to go to avoid extra expenses. She is really worried because it is her first experience of tending a sick person. Suddenly, an idea strikes her, and she orders Kawashima and Kimura to give her a demo. Poor Kimura is in a fix and wails about it. A sharp-tongued Ayame points out his act of unnecessarily barging into their conversation earlier. He clarifies that he didn't mean that, but a beaming Kawashima is all set to wipe off the sweat from his back. She abashedly shows Ayame how to do that from under his arms and back. Meanwhile, Kimura is overwhelmed by that cringe-worthy act and quickly jerks away from her grip, proclaiming that she is being too close somewhere. The gods of personal space are filing a complaint. In that attempt, his hands brush slightly with her fingers, and Kawashima nearly drops dead from a heart attack. Then, a beat-up girl hands over the towel to Ayame since it is her turn to rehearse. A high-strung Kimura tries to stop them, but a focused Ayame is adamant about practicing the step on him. So, despite his protests, she wipes him from under his arms and back, and a massive bolt of current penetrates him when her huge melons brush against his back. When he yelps in misery, she queries him with sheer fury about his problem. He agitatedly tells her to back off and wait for a moment, but she is not ready to give up and calls him too noisy for a patient. She reprimands him for behaving himself and keeps on wiping his back despite his hysterical pleas. Nothing says healing touch like an assault with a towel. Kawashima has been watching this scene impatiently and finally pushes them away in opposite directions. She exclaims crossly that they are being too close. A shocked Ayame cannot believe her words, but a frustrated Kimura confirms that. Then a shadow of gloom prevails on her face as she admits that she cannot do this right as well. And there it is, the rom-com rulebook's most sacred law. When in doubt, mope dramatically. She recalls how A has helped her out in many aspects. Kawashima stares at her anxiously as she finally discovers the real reason for Ayame's concern. Kimura suggests that leaving him alone is enough. He explains that if she keeps getting too close to him, then she might catch his cold as well. He advises her to take care of herself as well. She angrily tries to protest, but he cuts her off in the middle so that, even though she isn't used to it, she did a great job nursing him. He declares her the best fiancé in the world due to her effort. He smiles and admits that he would have fallen for her if he were in place of A smoothline, zero self-awareness. Kimura's brand in a nutshell. Ayame is dumbstruck and begins to blush furiously. Meanwhile, Kawashima appears thoroughly annoyed. Ayame nervously admits that she cannot leave him alone in that feverish state. Kimura animatedly offers his help, leaving Kawashima completely stunned. He explains that he will accompany her to A's house and will help her take care of him. The noble act of third-wheeling disguised as heroism. He even offers to teach her anything she doesn't understand. Ayame stares at him wide-eyed and then, blushing furiously, calls him dependable. A fuming Kawashima cannot hold it anymore and barges in, probing Kimura whether he will be staying over. He tells her to relax and excitedly assures her that he will make sure that those two don't turn this sick event into a big moment. Spoiler, that's exactly how big moments happen. Kawashima desperately ponders that she is not worried about that at all. She screams in agitation and then announces that she will be joining them as well. Both Kimura and Ayame are taken aback by her abrupt decision. A beaming Kimura pats her shoulder and mentions that he wasn't expecting her to be that motivated envy. The most reliable motivator in high school rom-com history. With a smug expression, he reveals to her his plan to pile up a bunch of flags together. During the sick visit, Kawashima agrees reluctantly. Soon, the trio heads towards A's home to take care of him. Deep down, Kimura is adamant about putting a full stop to this sick visit event. He is planning to make Kawashima take care of A, thus reducing Ayame's screen presence. He vows to make this situation into a high-end fiction, although Kawashima's reluctance is quite visible. Soon they reach A's place, and Kimura is awestruck to see his lavish mansion, because nothing screams tragic backstory like calling your rental a mansion. But Ayame stoically explains that this is a house, not a mansion, that her father rents out, and that it is a bit smaller than her original one. Kimura assumes her to be quite wealthy. Inside, A is burning with fever, and Kawashima appears quite concerned. Kimura calls for her attention and orders her to heat the instant rice porridge that he has brought. She meekly agrees. Even Ayame pulls up her sleeves hysterically, insisting on making it as well. She figures out that since it is an egg porridge, she just needs to microwave the egg. Kimura is worried about the upcoming catastrophe, and instantly, a deafening explosion rips through the whole microwave. Nothing says love triangle like an appliance casualty. A flustered Kimura is super mad at Ayame, calling her a typical heroine. An embarrassed Ayame quickly apologizes to him, so he mellows down a bit and considers that everyone makes mistakes after all. He offers to clean up the mess while ordering Kawashima to spoon-feed A, and then wiping off his body afterward. A shocked Kawashima jumps in fright, refusing to accept the sudden request, but he hysterically insists that she can do it, and there's no way out. He bucks her up, reminding her that she came here all the way to set up the flag. When she appears confused, he grabs her hand, and shockingly, she detaches from him abruptly and makes a great escape, claiming that she just remembers her mom asked her to run an errand. An annoyed Kimura cannot believe that she actually chickened out and ran away. Meanwhile, a flustered Kawashima is unable to face A while still thinking about Kimura rom-com, rule number 47. Flee the scene, then overthink for hours. Noticing his long face, Ayame wonders whether Kawashima has gone home. He affirms and then instructs her to clean up while he feeds A with some rice porridge. He even asks her to prepare a wet towel. Then he wakes up A and helps him eat some porridge. A true friend helps you eat and ruins your dignity simultaneously. Without looking at him, I thanks him, thinking that he is Kawashima. A wave of positivity flows within Kimura as he thinks he has struck a jackpot. He decides to play along and talks to him in a high-pitched Kawashina's tone to spoon-feed A. Meanwhile, Ayame is thoroughly shocked at his wacky behavior and then hands him the wet towel. And thus, the gender boundaries crumble under the weight of second-hand embarrassment. She asks him whether she can watch him wipe off A from a distance. He busily agrees and then takes off A's shirt. An embarrassed Ayame quickly turns away, shrieking wildly. She condemns him for doing something so sleazy. In Kimura's defense, he's only guilty of excessive realism. He clarifies that he needs to take off his shirt to wipe off the sweat. He advises her to turn around, which she has already done. After a while, A is lying on the bed with a cold wipe on his forehead. A concerned Ayame wonders whether he is going to be okay, and he is quite hopeful. Ayame is thoroughly relieved. He curiously wonders whether both Ayame and A get along or not. She firmly warns him not to get the wrong idea and insists that she is only worried about not getting any meals if A remains sick like this. Kimura meaningfully shrugs off her lame explanation, but is relieved that Ayame is back to her usual grouchy self, as he was unable to digest her meek attitude romance level. Hungry but emotionally unavailable. She irritably confronts his remark, but he is certain that a shy version of Ayame will be a total disaster. He didn't know about her side, but he is aware that this kind of thing makes a relationship bloom unexpectedly. Out of the blue, she queries him about staying over that night, to which he affirms he expresses his curiosity about their parents, being okay about a girl and a boy living under one roof, even though they are engaged. And somewhere, the morality police just fainted. She gravely denies, saying that she probably doesn't even care. He inquires about her mother, so she makes a heartbreaking revelation that her mother passed away when she was a kid. Kimura feels sorry for her. She thoughtfully recalls the time when her mother used to sing lullabies when she had a fever. She sits beside a sleeping A to give a little demonstration, and soon begins to croon, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," in her melodious voice. But as she progresses, Kimura shifts uncomfortably, realizing that this is getting to the peak, and he is worried that something extraordinary is going to happen. He quickly intervenes and insists that she leave the crooning to him. She inquires about his intervention irritably, so he explains that he is just in the mood to sing soon. He takes off the tune from where she has left, and Ayame watches him in amusement. Suddenly, she is transported to her mother's lap, where she is sung affectionately, and a sharp pang of gloom strikes her heart as she blurts out, "Mother," and drops her head sadly on the bed. Meanwhile, Kimura is still not convinced about her father arranging the engagement between A and Ayame, and tries to probe her about that. But Ayame has already fallen asleep. Emotional climax achieved. System shutting down. Kimura decides to look into that matter for some time, just for Kawashima. The morning arrives with the usual chirp of the birds and bright sunlight when Ayame wakes up abruptly, unable to believe that she fell asleep just like that. She is surprised to discover a snoozing Kimura with his head on A's bed. She is touched by his gesture of staying awake the whole night and taking care of A. She gently covers him with a blanket and grins, thinking what a weird guy he is. In no time, I rises, feeling much better than yesterday. He is shocked to find Kimura sleeping on the bedside. He realizes that even his body feels clean. Nothing suspicious about waking up mysteriously refreshed next to your male friend. Nope. Ayame enters his room and he inquires with her whether she took care of him when he was sick. She stares at him thoughtfully and then mentions that it was Kimura who did that. She even highlights the fact that he sang lullabies to him. A is quite puzzled to hear that and realizes that Kimura went that far just for him. His suspicions are finally coming true that Kimura probably has a thing for him. After all, congratulations, everyone. The love polygon just added another corner. Later, Kawashima literally flies in the air and slams into the lockers when Kimura greets her at school. He notices that lately she has been acting strangely distant. As she wobbles away, a puzzled Kimura wonders whether he has done something wrong. He follows her and tries to address her, but she keeps on smacking and banging on the lockers and walls. Nothing says, "I'm fine," quite like physically assaulting school property. He assumes that she is trying to avoid him for some reason. Out of the blue, Ayame's voice rings in his ears that he is blocking her way. He turns around and sees her carrying a load of books. He curiously inquires about them, so she replies that the teacher dumped them on her, because every great love story begins with unpaid manual labor. Earlier, she was planning to hand them over to A, but now she thinks Kimura can be the best bait for that. Poor Kimura silently makes an excuse for a fractured leg, but then happily offers his help. As he accompanies her to the info room, he cannot help wondering whether Kawashima is avoiding her as well. At first, she aloofly expresses her cluelessness, but then predicts that he might have done something insensitive to her, since he doesn't seem like the delicate type. He is slightly offended by her caustic remark, so she furiously points out his weird habit of suddenly grabbing other people's hands. A baffled Kimura doesn't know what she is talking about. The duo is completely oblivious to the fact that Kawashima is snooping on them. She doesn't know about her rising frustration levels. Classic stealth mission, jealousy edition. Due to the intense heat in the room, Ayame takes off her blazer. Kimura reasons that it is almost summertime. Secretly, he is relieved because things would have gone sizzling if A were here. He can imagine a confused A falling over Ayame and accidentally grabbing her luscious melons. The man's brain is permanently tuned to accidental rom-com scenario generator. His thought process is broken by Ayame's shriek, who hysterically points at a roach that popped up from nowhere. As she presses her body against his out of terror, he tries to shrug her off due to the intense heat. When she refuses to let go, he pleads that he cannot handle bugs. Meanwhile, Kawashima freaks out on seeing the duo in such a questionable position. Truly, no plot device brings people together faster than a roach. She quickly suspects something is cooking between the two. On the other hand, Ayame desperately urges Kimura to do something about that creepy crawly since he is a guy, but he violently shrugs her off, reprimanding her for saying outdated stuff. He admits that even he despises bugs. As the roach hides behind the chair, Kimura assures her that it is gone, but Ayame cannot be fooled easily. She presses against him panic-strickenly, claiming that it is still there. Meanwhile, Kawashima tries to remain positive, having complete faith in Kimura coming out clean. But when she hesitantly peeks inside again, she finds Ayame stooping over Kimura, whose face she cannot see due to a chair blocking half of her view. Her patience runs out, and she wildly slams open the door, demanding an explanation of their questionable act. This episode of Misunderstandings the Series brought to you by Bad Camera Angles. The duo is terror-struck at her unexpected entrance, and they in turn ask her inquisitively about what they had done. Struck with guilt, Kawashima chuckles nervously and shrugs off the matter, calling it a misunderstanding. Ayame decides to head back, but she turns around, glances at Kimura, and winks at him, guessing that he has something to talk about and that they will do it later. Both Kawashima and Kimura exchange jittery glances, because nothing eases tension like a perfectly timed wink of doom. He reprimands her for avoiding him, but she hysterically denies that he points out that she is doing that right now as well. It is then, with a thumping heart and flushed face, that she blurts out that she cannot help thinking about him. At first, Kimura is dumbstruck, then reacts strongly. Finally, an emotional confession powered by pure panic. An abashed Kawashima explains how she has been feeling wacky after the rehearsal date, and even though she should have been enjoying her time with A, she kept on thinking about him. She gives him vague signals about feelings for him, but he abruptly tries to mince off her words from her mouth. She is startled when he bows in front of her and tries to say something convincing, but fails. He cannot believe that she actually has a soft corner for him. Nothing says romance like mutual confusion and poor communication skills. He sighs and then declares that her feelings cannot be termed as love. And when she stares at him, astonished, he explains that she is only feeling grateful because he helped her out. He then highlights the concept of the shared goal effect, or suspension bridge effect, that when two people are working towards the same goal, they tend to become closer. He firmly tries to eliminate her misunderstanding. Translation: it's not you, it's basic psychology. He tries to make her believe that she has true feelings for A, with whom she has spent more time. He hysterically warns her that she will end up as a background character at the alarming rate she is easily falling for people. Kawashima is perturbed, so he calms himself down, avoids her gaze, and repeats that what she is feeling is not love. He emphasizes that it is useless to fall in love with a person like him. He's really out here friend-zoning himself like it's a competitive sport. She stares at him miserably when suddenly Ai enters the room. He conveys Kimura, their teacher's message that there is something important in the materials he brought earlier. Kimura assumes that it might be the stuff Ayame carried earlier and tries to scout for it in the lot he is carrying. Kimura finally finds that book. Meanwhile, Kawashima's heart begins to pound wildly, and she realizes that Kimura was probably right. A miracle. Logic temporarily triumphs over hormones, but she goes bonkers, trying to decide whether it's beating crazily for either A or Kimura. Her eyes open wide with shock when Ai suddenly falls over Kimura and yelps in sheer pain. Kimura weakly warns him to be careful, but secretly ponders that he got into a lucky perv accident. A flustered A apologizes to him, while Kawashima's heart is about to bounce out of her chest. Gravity, the true matchmaker of this story. She is struck by lightning when the shocking reality hits her. She can sense the intense vibe between the two, and recalls the incident when Ai had suddenly grabbed Kimura's hand instead of hers to avail the couple's discount. The poor gal is losing her marbles, thinking about the questionable but fluttery interactions between Kimura and Ai. She now realizes the reason for her irritability on seeing Kimura and Ayame close a while ago, as this meant she would not be able to see the A and Kimura relationship flourish. Somewhere, the genre just switched from rom-com to full-blown love hexagon. The gal is completely screwed for now, but she calls out to him, trying to be over-cheerful, and urges him to forget about what she had said earlier. She openly hints at the closeness between Kimura and Ai, leaving Kimura in a state of stupor. A startled Kimura realizes that the conversation has taken a bizarre twist, but he shrugs it off anyway. When he is alone, Kimura cannot help thinking about Kawashima, but he knows that he is hoping for the unthinkable. And thus ends another day in the high school where logic goes to die.